Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 1904 Club, of course, the Hull City podcast from the Hull Daily Mail. And this week, we're joined by a very special guest in Steve Jordan. Steve is the club announcer at the MKM Stadium. If you're in one of the stands, you've probably heard him call on you to shout out loud and get behind Hull City. So over the next few minutes, we're going to get to talk to Steve, find out about his career and what brought him back to the MKM Stadium. So good morning, Steve.
Morning. How are you, Barry? You okay?
I'm very well, thank you, my friend.
Good,
How are you?
Good. Yeah, all fine, thank you. Yeah, marvellous.
And we're coming to fans after Hull City's 3-2 win over Portsmouth on Saturday, which was an enthralling game, City's fifth win at the MKM Stadium this season. It seems like you've come back and pretty much that changed the home form, really, because last season was a bit difficult. It's been pretty grim at home over the last couple of years, but either you or Sergei Yakirovich, I don't know who's to blame for the upturn in fortunes, but certainly it's coincidental, if nothing else.
I can't take any credit for that. No, it's just complete coincidence. No, talk about perfect timing to be coming back when the results have been going as they are. It's incredible, and to start each match as a fan with a little bit of confidence is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
It really is as well, isn't it? So that's the thing. I think that's what so many fans have contacted the 1904 Club and said to me and Bernsey and Prutz and Catherine and everybody else that we have on the pod, just how enjoyable watching Hull City is again at home. It was really hard last year, and look, it was a season of struggle. We all know that it's gone and it's done and dusted. But the fact that the fans are coming now and they're looking forward to coming to the games and they're seeing goals in both nets, in fairness, at times, but they're seeing their team play with a real verve and a real excitement, and it gets. I know we've joked in the past about Adjun wanting to win games 4-3 and stuff like that, but that's kind of where we're at. But it is really exciting. Ultimately, Steve, that's what people go to football for, isn't it? To be entertained.
Yeah, I mean, even at half time on Saturday, speaking with a couple of my colleagues at the club, no, there's more goals in this. It may be even for either side, but City will score again. I mean, the amount of goals that we're scoring this season is phenomenal. When you consider the restraints that the club's under at the moment, and also, not just financial, but playing staff as well. Huge names not playing at the moment, and yet those that are being picked in their place are coming up and delivering, which is brilliant.
And that's the thing. After 15 games, they're sitting fifth in the Championship, which I think, in fairness, at the start of the season, nobody really knew how it was all going to go. Obviously, the struggles of last season, surviving on the final day on goal difference, as you say, the struggles over the summer. But the way that the staff, the new manager, the players have come together and have created what feels like something really special. And who knows where it's going to take us. We are only 15 games in, but to be sitting fifth in the Championship with 7 wins, 5 of those coming at the MKM Stadium is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I mentioned, players to come back as well, and looking at the fixture list ahead, you'd be confident in picking the games off. You're going, well, yeah, we should get something there, we should get something there, and we are getting away wins, we are getting the home wins, like you said, but the goals as well. To be second in the league on goals scored after getting a 0-0 at Coventry on the opening day, which nobody does. Is phenomenal. So there's something happening. Something's happening.
Well, yeah, and since the Coventry game, there was only one game where in the game since they failed to score. I mean, it was your first game back. I don't know if that was any coincidence. I think more to do with the fact that I think there was a sickness bug that ran through that absolutely ravaged the camp in the days before. But again, that's for a team that were the lowest scorers in the league last year. To have scored in all but 2 games, and one of those was the first game of the season, and the second game was, as I say, everybody was sick. So they've scored in every other game, 13 games out of 15. And if you chuck in the cup game away at Wrexham, they scored 3 on the road as well. So, the fact they're scoring goals is so exciting, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's I'm having to change the batteries in the microphone during the second half. So because, the amount of goal announcements I'm doing and incorrect substitutions, by the way, have you noticed?
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
It's driving me nuts. It's always the away team as well. 4 games now in a row that the board's gone up and it's been completely different to the actual players coming on and off. what's happening all of a sudden? I know that since COVID, they're doing their own boards, the clubs, and the fourth official isn't typing the numbers in. But to have 4 games in a row where the away team gives out a wrong substitution, then changes their mind last minute, and for me to announce it and then have to say correction with a little bit of sarcasm in the voice is just ridiculous. What's going on there?
Because that was on Saturday. It was they obviously Portsmouth made a couple of changes, and one of them was Josh Murphy. And I remember thinking at the time, I'm a bit surprised they're taking him off. And he walked off, and then was like some discussion on the touchline, wasn't there, about it? And then eventually there was a conflab with the referee, and he was allowed back on. What was your kind of take on that? What from down there?
Well, the thing is, because I've got somebody talking in my ear and I'm concentrating on the substitutions, and there's every chance as well. I can't remember the turn of events, but there could have been a Hull City substitution as well. And if that's the case, I've got to look at a different sheet because it's got sponsors on. I've got to read the sponsors out, and it's all over the place. But no, I'm told have a chat with the fourth official. If you saw as well, the board broke. I think both the boards were broken at the end. So the fourth official was still holding them up, even though there was nothing on them. And we get told, and then the player starts coming off. I think, oh, well, that is correct. And then realize they've got to the touchline and they've started running back on again. So they've changed their mind, or somebody's made a mistake somewhere. But of course, because I announce it, it's like, oh, he's got that wrong again. But anybody would see that the boards have been wrong. The boards also don't work. And what's going on? I'm told different stuff. Never happened to me before in 25 years of stadium announcing. And just this last 4 home matches, it's happened every single time, always with the away team, just saying.
They need to get themselves sorted out, really, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was your right? Let's talk about the goals on Saturday quickly. What was your view of that first goal for Ennis Destan on his full debut?
Well, early in the move, when the ball had crossed the halfway line and made itself to the right-hand side, and we were virtually it was like Harlem Globetrotters. Every single player seemed to have a touch, and there was some lovely half turns and movement off the ball and dummies. I said to Jack, who I work alongside, this is brilliant. And then, of course, you sort of worked up, your chest puffs up, you sort of grow a foot taller, you're trying to see as much as you can see from the tunnel, and then to see the ball go in. Oh my word. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I mean, a great way to get back into the match and to have the fans on your side and shut up what was, and praise to them, a very large, loud Portsmouth contingent, one of the furthest trips that they could make, and on a Saturday lunchtime. I was speaking with some fans before the game, and they'd set off at 4:30 in the morning. Oof. Fair play. They were very loud, and they're not doing so well themselves. Absolutely incredible. That first goal was stunning, wasn't it?
It's interesting, actually, the similarities, because it was the Portsmouth game at the MK. I know you weren't around then, but the Portsmouth game at the MKM Stadium last year, almost a year to the day. I think it was like the 3rd of November. And City were obviously struggling at that point, and they drew 1-1 with Portsmouth. And at that point, the then manager Tim Volter came out, and what the point he was trying to make, I think, was I understood what he was trying to make. He said, like, Portsmouth have brought a lot of fans. They're very loud. I want our fans to be like their fans. Unfortunately, the way he phrased it was poor. It got the fans back up, and ultimately that his relationship breakdown with the supporters, coupled with results on the pitch, he was ultimately sacked. A couple of weeks later, I think 3 weeks later, after a defeat to Sheffield Wednesday. But it's incredible. And yeah, you're right about Portsmouth. They travel 1,700 for a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday is incredible. Credit to City for the ticket pricing, because I think that helps. Their ticket pricing is incredible. But yeah, the Portsmouth fans, to be fair, contributed to what was a very good atmosphere. The Jurkovic on Thursday, in his own way, in a different way, called on the fans to replicate the atmosphere from the Sheffield United game, which you'll remember well. And, it's funny, isn't it, how the messaging from the managers was actually quite similar, but it was the way it was delivered was very different, and the outcome, obviously, and clearly Jurkovic has got credit in the bank, so he can say things, and the fans actually listen and respect, because the respect is both ways. But they were very good, weren't they? And it did contribute to a good atmosphere.
It is, and what I like as well, if you look at social media, for once, and it's great, it's so positive, and people are looking forward to games. I've noticed that people seem to be getting into the ground earlier. Things have changed in such a short space of time. It's phenomenal, and great for not just football. I mean, 23,000 there for a championship game between what were meant to be two struggling clubs on a Saturday lunchtime is incredible. The situation, even the one that we found ourselves in 9 months ago is just brilliant, and just great to hear and be a part of.
And the kind of, we're jumping ahead. I want to go back to the winning goal in a minute, but like, if you think of you're a pitch side for the full time scenes as well. There is that. There feels a real. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. There feels a real connection between the players, the manager, and Jurkovic is not somebody that wants to, run around the stadium celebrating arms aloft. That's not his style. He just wants to, thank the fans and crack on and look at the next game, or in his case on Saturday, get back and see some family in Zagreb. But there is a connection with the players, isn't there, and the supporters. And when you've got that momentum you can generate is really powerful.
Do you know what? And I funny enough, I said this to Jack, who I work alongside during the course of a game. One thing I've noticed this season is on some of the social media feeds from the club, on some of the videos where the players are either sort of like in the tunnel area, or unseen by the fans, or they're doing something midweek. They're going to go visit a school or something, or go do a talk. There seems to be a real proper bond between the players. There doesn't seem to be anybody who stands out as being aloof or not interested or doesn't want to be there. They all seem thoroughly engaged in it. There's a lot of eye contact, a lot of smiles. It all seems very natural. I've never seen that at Hull City for quite some time. It's wonderful to see. And I think if that's transferring onto the pitch, then I can fully understand that. So, for instance, of course, the tunnel is extended before the players come out for their warm-up, about 10 to 12 it would have been on Saturday. And I can see all the players in there. And sometimes you get a good gauge of what mood they're in. And there was so much laughing and joking and smiles and so relaxed mannerisms and things like that. I was confident just from seeing that before they even went out in their training tops to go and kick a ball about for 20 minutes. It was fantastic. And I thought, yeah, there's something here. They'd soon forgotten Derby County from the a few nights before. And it was a blank piece of paper, and they started and they went again.
And that's the thing, we've been around the Championship long enough. Fans listening to this will know exactly how the Championship works. Even the best are going to lose games. And yes, it was a game that they should never have lost. They contributed to their own downfall. And a lot of the points they've dropped, in fairness, they've taken 13 points from 18 in the 6 games since the last break. And the points they've dropped, the 91st minute equaliser against Charlton, and obviously the winning goal for Derby, they're 2 games that City were very much in and should have got something out of. So, it's not like when they lose a game, they're being completely outbattered and they're miles off it. They're contributing to their own downfall in those respects, but it's about how you respond. And they responded, even on Saturday. They should have been 2-0 up after 9 minutes. They didn't. Then they have the setback of going behind, come back and get in front, then the setback of conceding again just before half-time, but then dominate the second half and find a way against a team that are fighting for their lives to win the game. And that goal, Steve, what was it's obviously got a lot of traction on social media because it was Charlie Hughes' his pass was incredible. Joff's touch and finish was absolutely top class. What was your view of that from down?
I just likened it to a Wimbledon drop shot. Really, it was just one of those. It just needed to hit his foot, and you just knew the moment it hit his foot what was going to happen. And it's great to know. It's very rare that you see a goal and you think, "Wow, this is a goal," before it's even been kicked. Kind of like when the ball came across for Destin for the first goal. It was you just knew, right, this is only one. There's only one outcome here. It was beautiful, and it is a butterflies in the stomach. Tommy flipping over. I can't wait to announce this one because the cheer will be amazing. Kind of goal, and that's what it turned out to be. Yeah.
And he's played, and I guess in some ways, Joe Gauhart typifies this new look Hull City. Obviously, he was here last season. Second half of it with the struggles, his goals helped keep them in the division. But the fact he was so desperate to come back and he wants to be here, and he's got 7 goals. He's got 5 goals in 6 and 2 assists in the last 6 games. Him and Charlie Hughes, Carl Joseph have got such a an incredible rapport. And as you say, that kind of is reflected across the whole dressing room. And I guess that all comes from the manager, doesn't it? Yes, the players, create their own atmosphere, and it's up to them to go out and deliver and what have you. But the manager and his staff set the tone, don't they?
Yeah, and I think they must buy into it as well, because it was only 7 days before the previous Saturday lunchtime where City were being kind of battered at Norwich City, really. And then all of a sudden there's a halftime team talk, there's some player changes, and all of a sudden it's all very different. And it's obviously the players buy into this and they're behind him, and it's whatever it is at the moment seems to be working. And I think we're both trying to get across is just, I think the team spirit and the camaraderie is phenomenally good.
And I guess to finish on Saturday, you kind of, the whole team ethic and the attitude of the entire team was kind of summed up in there was 8 minutes. Was it 8 minutes of added time or 6 minutes? I think it was 8 minutes of added time. Yeah. And the Portsmouth goalkeeper's got the ball well outside his box, and Carl Joseph goes from in his own half. He tracks one player, tracks two players, and then sprints to try and close the goalkeeper down. Blocks his kick up the field. Goes out for a goal kick, and the roar from the crowd, and Kyle trying to do that, with his arms. That was almost celebrated like a goal, and Kyle got his goal as well. That is just that he typifies kind of this new Hull City, doesn't he? His attitude and his spirit, his running, and just his effort, and the fans respond.
Yeah, and also, this thing now where it's becoming more apparent after a win, where we're playing status quo, and the crowd are staying, and the players stay on the pitch, and they go to the stands and they applaud, and it's this most wonderful atmosphere. And I genuinely believe that fans are thinking, I'm definitely coming next week. Yeah, how do I get a ticket? How do I, And I think it is becoming more of an all together us day out kind of thing, and the players are there, and it is working, and it's working well at the moment, and it fair play. I mean, this is dare we dream? Dare we dream?
I mean, why not? Football's about dreaming, isn't it? And they've put themselves in a really good position. Yes, it's only 15 games in, but they're above a lot of teams that they perhaps wouldn't have expected to be above. They're playing. What I think is, even if they're not playing well, they've got a chance. As you touched on rightly, they were awful at Norwich in the first half. Should have been at least 2-0 down at half time.
Yeah.
Stuck in half of the battle is sticking in the game when inevitably the other team will have a spell. Everybody will have a spell, stick in the game, and then second half get a goal and go and win the game. And that's the thing. I think the fans believe, even if we're not at our best, even if we are playing poorly, we've still got a chance, and we can get something out of it. And it just feels like it's just fun. It's the whole environment feels fun, doesn't it? And that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, that Norwich game, as soon as we went 1-0 up, I thought, oh, we've won this. That's a confidence that I don't remember having for many years. And then, we went on and won the game just as I thought. And you could see that it was affecting the Norwich players, the fans, the staff. Yeah, they've got a couple of issues of their own off the pitch at the moment. But even so, it was a wonderful day. Such a long trip, and to come back with 3 points, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, long may it continue. Right, let's talk about you. Obviously, great to see you back for that Blackburn game. How did it all happen, Steve? Explain kind of how you got the call and how you appeared back at the MKM.
Well, so I left 4 years ago, 2021, and because I couldn't be in two places at once because I had a job elsewhere. But sort of, I think it was the Friday before the season started. All of a sudden, I got atted in on a tweet, and I still call it Twitter now. It will never be X to me, but I got atted in on a tweet, and I thought, oh, what's happening here? And somebody had said we should bring Steve back. I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I looked at my phone again half an hour later, and there's quite a few different notifications, and then some more. And then it lasted all weekend. And then they started atting the chairman in. And I thought, oh, no. And I don't like fuss, believe it or not. I don't like anything. I'm just like, oh, please make this stop, because it's not going to happen. And essentially, that was on the Friday. First game of the season was on Saturday. I got a phone call from the club on the Monday. Do you want to come and have a chat? On the Wednesday, I came in and we sorted it all out. And there I was, except I couldn't do the two of the first three games because I had previous holidays booked. But yeah, so there we go. So that's how it all happened, very, very quickly and very unexpectedly.
So was it? Do you think it was pre-planned on the club's part anyway, or was it all down to this little Twitter campaign that got people talking again?
I don't know, because I don't know what the plan was from the club's point of view. All I know is that I got all this, and it was quite overwhelming for me, and the club being at it in, and lots of people joining this, and I've never seen, when it comes to myself, not seen anything like this before, and I was quite, oh no, and then it did happen. It's kind of like a dream, really. But no, I mean, I never applied or made a phone call to ask anybody, because I was doing different things on a Saturday. I was doing normal things that people would do on a Saturday, but now here we are again, and although I tell you what, I did nearly faint on the first game back against Blackburn, because I was kind of like, I'd not eaten before the game, at that Blackburn game. And I remember this happening the first time I ever did it in 2004. I'd done 2 stands, and then I went to the next one. And I've only ever fainted once in my life before. And I recognized the signs. I thought, because it's like, and so same again against Blackburn. I just turned round. I'd done the south stand. I was just about to say good afternoon east stand, and I thought, oh God, I'm going. And I'm like, I'm breathe. Did the east stand, then the north stand. I'm thinking, please don't let this be me being reported on, because I've planted my face into the pitch, still holding a clipboard in one hand and a microphone in the other, and the physio's running on.
That'd be ironic, given City's injury troubles, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So it was kind of like, it was just totally overwhelming to me. So that's, and it was like, oh wow, I've not done this for 4 years, but kind of like muscle memory. And in that period, of course, they've changed the order of the stands round. So we do north stand last now, which, it's like, oh, don't forget this. You do the east stand, then the north stand. Okay, right. Okay. So, yeah. And luckily I got through it. I was able to breathe. But ever since then, I've remembered to eat, and because we all get nerves, and that was definitely an occasion.
What was it like walking? But obviously, what was your first thoughts, kind of, after you came off the phone to the club? And we probably know who the person was that spoke to you, but what was it like after you had that conversation, and then walking up to the MKM on the following Wednesday to have the meeting about coming back? What were you thinking?
Well, from the way that the phone call went, I thought, oh well, this is definitely happening. It's just a case of how it's all going to work, and what I need and what they need and stuff like that, which is why I went in. But but I don't like to jinx anything. So I'm in that position where people are then sending me direct messages asking, are you joining then? Are you joining? And I can't say anything. Don't really say anything to my friends and family either. And it's just like, I've got it. And the 48 hours between the Monday and the Wednesday seemed forever until I went in. And then the period between the Wednesday, and they said, oh, we're going to announce it on the Friday. And then on the Friday, they came to me and said, right, we're not going to announce it today. We're going to do it tomorrow instead. So the Saturday at 2:00. Oh no. So I guess another 24 hours to wait. And then they said, we're going to do it at 2:00. And then they did exactly that. And then that was another Saturday and Sunday where my phone never stopped. And then, of course, I've got friends saying, well, you never told me. You never told me. I said, well, I couldn't, because what if it didn't come off? And what if it didn't happen? That's quite embarrassing. So, yeah, that's how it all happened.
And apart from the nerves and all that sort of stuff, what was it like, for the Blackburn game? Coming back and doing it all again, getting back into that routine and being back out in front of 20,000 people. Yeah,
I mean, essentially the same. Because the scripts that I get sent that I print off at home before I come to the ground were still written in the font and in the templates that I designed probably about 2016, something like that. So I'm thinking, oh, somebody's sending me my emails back. This is weird. So that hadn't changed. So that was all. So that was nice. I still had the not the original bag, but the bag that I used. So everything was, so that was all normal. My suits still fit, which is good. Little bag here, which is good. And yeah, I mean, just coming to a football match and working, and of course outside the ground, there's a lot of stewards that are still there from before, and they're all saying hello to me. The fans who are queuing up for autographs for when the players arrive, you've got to walk past them. They're all saying hello and wanting selfies, and I think that's probably why, particularly on that Blackburn game, which ultimately turned out to be so disappointing.
Yeah.
But the build up to it for me was lovely and beautiful. So yeah, it was nice. But now it's like clockwork again. Thankfully, on Saturday we did the Remembrance game, which I've done many times before, and perfectly observed by the fans.
Yeah,
the gentleman that read out the exhortation was word perfect. The gentleman that played the bugle was note perfect. And I've watched a few games over the weekend, and I think what the British Legion did there at ours was probably far superior than say it was at Manchester City, Liverpool, or the Arsenal game at Sunderland. It went really well, and it was beautiful. You could hear a pin drop. Fantastic.
Yeah, echo that absolutely. Let's just kind of look back over your career. How did you first get involved at City, Steve? Way back when?
For those that don't know, I'm a radio presenter, and here's a quick plug. I do the mid-morning show on a station called Virgin Radio 80s, which you can get by asking your smart speaker to play Virgin Radio 80s, or you can get the app. And I'm on after the Chris Evans breakfast show. And of course, it does what it says on the tin. I play a load of 80s music. However, years ago, I used to do the breakfast show on a radio station in Nottingham called Century 106. And
I remember that vividly. Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, and at that time, there was a lot of football on the station. So there would be, like Radio Humberside does now, has a nightly football phone-in, or it did. And it was Darren Fletcher, who's now the lead commentator at TNT Sports, who I was working with, who did it with Larry Lloyd and then Gary Birtles. And there was a strong connection between the radio station and the club. The club then said, we're looking for a new stadium announcer. Do any of your presenters want to do it? And it always amazes me how few radio presenters are out there are actually huge football fans. And because I did the breakfast show, I was asked first. I went, what? Work at Nottingham Forest? Me? Yes. So I'm growing up as I did, watching football in the late 70s, early 80s. Everybody had a second team. I would go to Boothby Park every week to watch City, but I would also on the TV whenever I could watch Forest, because they were really, really good then. And they were kind of like my second team. So ultimately, I've worked for both of my two favorite football teams. Started off at Forest. David Platt had just been installed as the manager. They'd not been relegated long. They're in the Championship as it is now. Football wasn't great. All wasn't great. But I was enjoying it. It was like, I'm working at Nottingham Forest. This is incredible. And then one summer, 2004, I was back working in Hull, and I was doing the breakfast show on Magic 1161 at a Vikings building. And I bumped into Rob Smith, who worked for the club, in a pub one day. And I just said to him, I said, look, I'm working at Nottingham Forest now. I'm doing the stadium announcing. If the job ever comes up at Hull City, give me a ring, because I might be interested. Thinking in a few years' time, I might get the call. And then it turns out circumstances dictated I did get that phone call within 3 weeks. I think I'd been to a couple of the friendly games, Birmingham, Tottenham, I seem to remember, as a fan in the Upper West Stand in the new stadium. And so the only reason I was going to Nottingham was to do the one game a fortnight, essentially, for Forest. I thought, well, I can stop all this commuting, go to Hull City. And luckily, I was able to leave Forest and come and join Hull City, which is incredible to me. And mad.
And you've seen some incredible moments over the years, haven't you? Probably one of the most iconic. I mean, there's been promotions, there's been relegations, there's been everything in between. But the Phil Brown moment is one of the most famous ones, isn't it? You handing the microphone to him and him taking it over. Just talk to us about that moment.
Well, so that was not planned. I will stick up for Phil in this. That was not planned. So what had happened was, it was the last game of the season. We just lost against Manchester United. We'd stayed up by the skin of our teeth and sent Newcastle down. And of course, there was a pitch invasion, but the players wanted to come back on the pitch and do their celebratory lap of honour, to tradition. There was that many fans on the pitch, we couldn't do it. So 3 or 4 times I've made an announcement, please clear the pitch, otherwise we won't have the parade. And then I think security got on their microphone and said the same, and nobody seemed to be paying any attention. So I goes back down the tunnel to explain to Phil and the team what's going on. And Phil's like, oh, he's getting a bit impatient. He says, oh, I don't know. He says, yeah, I'll give it a go. Give me the mic and I'll go out and I'll tell the fans to bugger off, kind of thing. When he gets out of the tunnel, miraculously, in the minute or so that this conversation's happened, everybody's come off the pitch and it's clear virtually. So he stood there with the microphone. I see it in his eyes. Oh, I was prepared to ask what do I do? To
get rid of him.
Now. Yeah. So that's when he started singing. So something in his head must have gone, right, I'm here for a reason. Let's make the most of it. So of course he does his Beach Boys, and the rest is history. And then throws the mic back at me. I catch it in one, and then the whole. That's all anybody ever remembers about that game. What I also remember about that game is after the game in the tunnel area, waiting to get on the pitch with the players, was seeing Sir Alex Ferguson. Literally 2 minutes after a win, final game of the season. Obviously, it wouldn't have meant much to them at that point. They knew where they were. Instead of being full of football and full of, wanting to speak to the press or anything, he'd found a woman who was holding a baby, and he'd asked if he could hold the baby, and was talking to the baby in baby talk.
How bizarre.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, you're Sir Alex Ferguson and you've just watched your Manchester United team win again. And I know it's the last game of the season and you're probably on the beach already, but I wasn't expecting that. So, yeah, that was 2 things that I saw within 3-4 minutes of each other. Yeah.
That must have been wholly surreal. I mean, not just the Phil Brown thing, but Alex Ferguson just going and holding the random baby. Yeah, if it wasn't right, if you didn't know the person,
Yeah. Just I think it was a random one. I don't know if it was probably, well, because of where they were, it may have been a player's wife, and he might have known her. I don't know. I didn't recognize the woman, but yeah, mad. Absolutely mad.
What would be your over your distinguished career covering City? What would be your highlight? Would you say of things happening at the MKM Stadium, or as it was KCOM and?
Oh, knowing that we were going to Wembley, I think. I think, yeah, with the Watford game was phenomenal. However, it was the FA Cup quarter-final against Sunderland when I knew that we'd be going to Wembley for the FA Cup semi-final. That was very, very, very exciting. I remember that day very well. That was, I can't remember having as much adrenaline as that, knowing that it would be incredible. And I think from my point of view, and then beating Sheffield United in the semis, I ended up in a pub. I'd stayed over, and I ended up in a pub in Wembley by myself after the game. And I seem to remember there was a Barcelona Real Madrid game on Sky. I found a pub that was showing that. That was on afterwards, and I was watching that. And I'm still stood there in my suit but I'd remembered to take my club tie off because I thought I don't really want to be recognised. But it all started to sink in, and I'd remembered my granddad being a big Hull City fan, and he was at that point no longer with us, and he'd never seen Hull City do that well. And I started to quietly cry, when you stand there with a pint and it's all a bit overwhelming and the tears sort of come down silently. I thought, oh, we're in the FA Cup final. He doesn't know. And then I noticed a big gang of Sheffield United fans had seen me and came up to me and asked me if I was all right.
Oh.
I thought, so I was just honest. I thought, right, but there's the fire door. If I need to make a quick exit, but I explained, and they were lovely to me. So, thank God for that. So, yeah, that whole beating Sunderland and then Sheffield United in the semi, and then of course the final, which was all a blur. I can't remember much about the final at all. I
was going to ask about the final because obviously the tradition in finals is, the clubs bring their announcers, don't they, for playoffs and FA Cups and things like that. So, what's that like when you're let's take the playoff final and you're reading out, you get to introduce Can't Help Falling in Love, and you get to introduce the teams to the Hull City fans at Wembley on a day, particularly the playoff final, as magical and special as it is, but hugely. You kind of think like the FA Cup final and FA Cup semi-finals are fantastic, and you want to win, of course you do, but it's not the be-all and end-all in the respect of the Championship playoff final can change the course of a club's history, and it changes people's lives in a flash. Yes, the FA Cup final does, but I kind of feel like the Championship playoff final, because of promotion into the Premier League for City, the first time it would have. Obviously, the first one against Bristol City's iconic moment, first time the club ever gets into the Premier League as it was, the financial impact of that, how it changes players, staffs, fans' lives. What's that like?
Oh, well, I always knew I was going to get to do that because when I worked at Forest, they nearly got to a playoff final, but they got beaten in the second leg by Sheffield United.
We can't talk about Sheffield United and Bramall Lane. It's too raw still. All these years on.
Oh, I know. So much so, by the way, because they won the first leg at the City Ground, if you remember, and it was in the days really before internet booking took off for hotels, and I'd rung up a hotel to make a booking, tentatively thinking, well, I'm going to be working for Forest there that day, and then that second leg happened. Was it 4-2? I seem to remember.
I was in the. Obviously, this is the old before Bramall Lane got the stand behind the goal got renovated. I was in the upper tier for that second leg, and when Andy Reid, for David Johnson, obviously father of Brennan, scored the opener at the Cop end, and we were 1-0 up. And then Andy Reid fired in front of us, and somebody, I was in the upper tier as it was then, and somebody, obviously everybody was going, it was pandemonium. Somebody jumped on my back, and in celebration, I fell forward. And nearly ended up in the lower tier. But I remember getting, obviously, given what happened, and Chris Cabba, Paul Pesca-Salido, it was just, I think Helder scored to make it 4-3 in extra time. And I just remember getting back on the coach, back outside the back of the away end of Bramall Lane in absolute devastation. And my girlfriend at the time phoned me, and I was like, I can't talk to you. We had the first leg at the City Ground. I should never forget Mark Clattenburg sent off Michael Dawson for a tackle, and it was just that team was under Paul Hart we'd had so many financial problems and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I know I'm going off at a tangent, but I remember that Bramall Lane, like that Bramall Lane second leg, it was the tears. Oh, it was raw. It still is raw. I've still never forgiven Clattenburg for sending off Mickey Dawson.
Yeah, no, it's all. Well, I thought, I'm never going to get to Wembley, but obviously that changed. Yeah. But I remember ringing the hotel that I booked after the morning after Sheffield United beat Forest, and I said, I'm really sorry about this. I'm going to have to cancel the room that I've booked. And the woman on the phone from the reception said, "Team lose, did they?" That's what she said. I'm like, yeah. So, but I mean, standing there knowing that you're going to be on the big screen at Wembley as well, and standing in the corner with a camera on you, and there's the team sheet to read out, and you're going to introduce Can't Help Falling in Love with You, which unfortunately they played the wrong version of. I'll never forget that, because they said, "Oh, we haven't got Elvis. This is Wembley Stadium. You haven't got Elvis." Anyway, so I mean, I always remember as well, because once you're there, because you have to be there very, very early, and it's like, "Oh, do you want a drink? Do you want a drink?" They did mean, "Do you want a beer?" I'm like, no. So all 4 times I've done it for City. No, don't want a beer. I want to be able to remember everything. Want to be able to, so I'll drink after I've done it, whatever. But yeah, and then you start seeing photographs that people have taken, and they get sent to you on social media, and like even from right up in the gods at Wembley, you make out this small man in a dark suit. Yeah, that's me. Absolutely brilliant. To be able to do all of that is, I feel so lucky to do it. It's wonderful. I know that the people would love to have a crack at this.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you, because there'll be a lot of fans that still wonder why. Well, in terms of introducing the stands, then where did that come from?
Right. Okay. Well, that's not me. So my predecessor, Martin Hainstock, used to do that at Boothbury Park, and then he brought it to what was the KC Stadium then. So that people associate that with me, but it's kind of like, well, it's not really, because it's not mine. It's something that I inherited. But I do have to be honest. When I joined the club in 2004, I did say to them, I don't want to introduce the stands, if that's all right. I just want to play it with a straight bat. And they were kind of like, Rob and Adam Pearson were kind of like, "Oh, no, we're going to do the stands." Oh, do I? Well, I have grown to love it over the years. It was one of those things that I thought, I'm not sure about this. And it does get a lot of stick from some away fans at certain clubs. And I can kind of understand that, but it seems to work. And whenever anybody bumps into me in the pub or the supermarket or taxi drivers, they will say, "Oh, it's great. That's great." Is that? I say, "Oh," and it's when I hear stuff like that, I think, "Oh, okay, then yeah, I suppose I'll just stick with it." Obviously, there are games where we can't do it, like the Remembrance game that we've just done. We didn't do it then, and when Ken Houghton sadly passed, couldn't do it then either. But whenever we do it, and it does seem to get the crowd wound up. So especially with the full house, essentially as it nearly was against Portsmouth, brilliant. It works. But no, I have put this on record before. I didn't want to do it.
you were forced into it, basically.
Yeah, it was something that seemed to be working from Martin, and yeah, fair enough. And that's what they wanted me to continue doing. So there we go. So yeah. So for those who are younger, it's not actually my thing. It was Martin Hainstock's. And
the fact it riles 1 or 2 away fans is quite comical, really, isn't it? But it is unique. It helps create the atmosphere, and if it gets the crowd going, you do everything you can to get the crowd going before kickoff, don't you?
Oh, I love the reaction from the Sheffield United fans the other week. That was incredible. I've never had that before. That was fantastic. Oh yeah, it's like not years ago that would have really got to me. But now it's kind of like that's funny. That's funny. And we went on to win, and we went on to be a team managed by Chris Wilder. So I was more than happy with how it turned out 90 minutes later.
You must have had, over the years, Steve, some really funny moments on the touchline. I mean, I remember it might have been I don't think it was the Sheffield United game. Or it might have been. There was a game where you were introducing the mascots, which is I always find inherently funny. When young Trotter from the club did the announcing last year, I always used to find his was very, the way he would speak to the mascots was very Partridge-like. But you get some incredible. I think it was, one girl said it was going to be 56-0 to City as a score prediction, and I think one on Saturday was 9-4.
Oh, we had
a great one.
Yeah, we had 24-8, I think, the match before that. And then I think the Leicester City match, there was a young lad who I asked for a score prediction. He said 2-1 to Leicester. And what? I can't, in all those years, I can't ever remember a mascot giving a positive result for the opposition. So I was genuinely, I said, "What? You did say to Leicester?" "Yeah, to Leicester." Okay. No, those mascots can be quite funny. No, it was young Santi, I seem to remember. Yeah, he's picked 9-4 as the score. If it was 9-4 every week, I'd be happy. We'd have every bum on every seat. That would be incredible.
I mean, you can't rule it out. I mean, the Bristol City game would have been 9-4 at Ashton Gate. And the way that game on Saturday started off in the first half, I mean, you couldn't rule it out. So it was, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think that if it is going to happen, it's probably going to be this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is a game coming where, if you keep knocking at the door, which Hull City seem to be doing a lot during a game, and we are back at full strength, which fingers crossed isn't too far away now. And I hate international breaks, but this is the first one I've actually embraced. I was thinking,
we just need to lie down, don't we?
If ever we need one, this is it. This is it. We need 2 weeks off.
Just before we finish, obviously you did the World Cup in Russia and covered England games, and I think the 6-1 against Panama. What was that experience like for you?
Incredible. I mean, something else that I didn't apply for. It was really weird. So very quickly, I got a private message on LinkedIn from a Russian lady whose profile picture was beautiful, asking me if I'd like to work at the World Cup. My first thought was, it's a scam, don't reply. And then I gave it a few days thought. I spoke about it with 2 or 3 people, and they said, no, well, don't give too much about yourself away, just reply. And then I replied, and then it was ages before they replied again, and and it was only when I got the visa and the plane tickets to actually go that I knew I was definitely going, because I always had it in the back of my mind that it was a bit of a scam. But no, because I hadn't applied, they'd come to me. So I did 10 games all in all as an English-speaking stadium announcer at the 2018 World Cup in Saransk and Nizhny Novgorod. One of the games was England's 6-1 win against Panama, where I'm reading the teams out and I'm thinking, I wonder if Harry Maguire recognises my voice.
Did he?
I've no idea because I've never spoken to him since, because he wasn't at the club then, and I just thought, I wonder if he thinks I know this voice from somewhere, and I'll never know. Harry Kane got a hat trick, and the last game that I did was the quarter-final between France and Uruguay, which was incredible. But no, announcing Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo's names to a world stage. Just incredible to be there and around, professional outfits who want to get it right. We'd get there. There's, when I do Hull City, there's no rehearsal. So say for a 3 o'clock kickoff in Russia, or as it would have been 5 o'clock, I think, I had to be there at 11. We had to be there 6 hours before kickoff.
Wow.
So, when all the kids come out with all the McDonald's advertising in the center of the pitch and the flag wavers, we have to rehearse that about 20 times. and I have to be there to loop, I'm only the voice, but they need my voice to make sure that the music matches and stuff like that. So there's a lot of waiting about. So it wasn't as exciting when the game started. Absolutely incredible. And I remember, there's a certain bar that I discovered where I'd go after matches, where there were people of all nations there. And I got speaking to one guy who was a Brazilian referee, I think in the 1974 World Cup. And I just thought, this is incredible. And I looked him up when I got home, and it was real. This guy was real. He was a referee at the World Cup in 1974. Mad, absolutely mad. And I got presented with a spare match ball that was unused for the England Panama game. That's match stamped on it on one of the Adidas panels, and that's what I'll take away with me. But an experience that we could be sat here for another 2 hours with me talking about all the stories from it. But never expecting to do it again, because World Cup is for the foreseeable going to be in countries where English is spoken as a language, so they don't need to fly anybody like me out there to go and speak English. So very, very grateful and honoured that I did it. Yeah,
and that's it. That's it. that opportunity may never come around again, but what an opportunity you've had, and to have experienced that and done that is, that's something you'll never forget, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you think an FA Cup semi-final, an FA Cup final, and 2 playoff finals would probably be the peak, but no, along comes a World Cup, and it's just wow. So now we're looking at an FA Cup run again, and although it'd be nice to get to Wembley for a playoff, it'd be nice to get automatic, wouldn't it?
Wow,
we can dream.
Football's about dreaming, Steve.
It is.
And let's hope. Steve, it's been we could talk for hours. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the 1904 Club. Thank you so much for giving up an hour of your morning to come and talk to us, and just give an insight into your job, your life, and what brought you back to Hull City. So thanks very much for joining us.
No worries, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Steve.
Cheers, mate.